we're going to try to get the adults a good look at what we're looking at here on the screen, because this is a really awesome material. It's a raised map of the city of Jerusalem at the time when Jesus was alive. And we remember, some of you guys might remember, we look at sometimes a map of the three main cities in the land of Israel, in the Holy Land. And those three cities, anybody remember the names of them? Maybe some of the older kids do. What are the three main cities? Izzy? Jerusalem. That's the one we're talking about. Do you remember another one? Maybe where Jesus was born? Anybody got that one?
Is it Bethlehem?
Bethlehem, that's the other one. And another one? Okay. Nazareth. Yeah, those are the three important cities that we talk about in Jesus' life. But the most important city in all of the land of Israel is the city of Jerusalem. And this is a map of the city of Jerusalem. Hopefully, is that... Okay. Projector power. Yep. So I want to tell you guys, I went to school, Miss Sarah did too, for 3 years after college, just to learn about the Bible and stuff like that. And I never learned about some of the stuff we're going to talk about the city of Jerusalem. So this is so cool what we have for us today. And I hope the grown-ups are going to get to see it soon too. If not, you can take a closer look. But you can see this is a model of the city of Jerusalem and what's all around the outside of the city. Can you see what this might be? So there's walls around the city. There's walls to protect it. There's water as well. There's water. The water runs through the city into some pools where people would go to collect the pools. And the city of Jerusalem was the most important city because of one special feature. Does anybody recognize what this might be? The temple. That's right. And so that's where the Jewish people would go and worship. And Jesus went there a lot of times in his life for the special festivals to worship. But he went there this week that he died as well. And that's what we're talking about today. So the week before he died, you can see it up there and you can see it right here too. Jesus was staying in a city out here. You can kind of see kind of on this side. Where am I? There we go, over here. He was staying with his friends Lazarus and Mary and Martha. Lazarus was the one that Jesus had raised from the dead. And he came into the city and he had, we can get a little bitty palm going here. He sent, we just heard the gospel where he sent some of his friends to look for a donkey. Jesus knew that there was a prophecy about the Messiah coming in. Oh, I got a tiny palm, thank you. Coming into the city of Jerusalem on a donkey. And so he sent his friends and they got a donkey and Jesus rode the donkey. And as he rode along on the donkey, people started singing. And they started putting their coats and their jackets down on the road so the donkey's hooves wouldn't even touch the ground. And they cut branches from the trees around, maybe palm trees, and they went into the city all following Jesus and saying, Hosanna. Hosanna means, Lord, save us. They were proclaiming Jesus as the King, the Messiah who would come to save the people. And Jesus went with the donkey in the procession all the way to the temple. And he looked around, and then he left. And that was, the beginning of the week.
Bye-bye.
The beginning of the week. He went out of the city, back to where he was staying with his friends. So then there was a really important day coming. That was the day of the Passover. The Passover is the most important festival of the Jewish people, and they eat a special meal. Jewish people still celebrate the Passover today. They gather in a home with their families and celebrate a meal. And Jesus wanted to celebrate that meal with his disciples, so he chose a special place in the city. Where's he going to go? He went to this special house. And some of you guys might remember what we call it. What do we call it?
Is it the House of Pilate?
No, this one is this. It's the cenacle. We call it the cenacle because it's a special house with an upstairs room. And Jesus sent, again, a couple of his disciples ahead to prepare the Passover meal in that special room. And it was at that meal that Jesus said to his disciples some words that we still say every Sunday. We still hear them every Sunday when we have communion. But it must have sounded kind of strange to his friends when they first heard those words. He said, he took the bread and he said to them, what did he say? This is my body. That's right. And he took the cup of wine. He said to them some words they never heard before. This is my This is my blood, right? That must have sounded so strange to them. But I think what he was telling them was he was giving all of himself to them. He was giving all of himself to them. And after that supper, they went out to a special place to Jesus. They went back through the city and out the gate. They went over here to the Mount of Olives, and it was a special place Jesus liked to pray. And Jesus was praying there in the Mount of Olives when we don't really understand. This is a hard thing to understand, but some people came and they arrested Jesus. They were angry and they wanted to have Jesus killed, even though he hadn't done anything wrong. And the really sad part was one of his friends helped them find him in this special place where he liked to pray. So the soldiers arrested Jesus that night. It was the middle of the night, and they took him back into the city. And they took him over here to the house of the high priest, and they asked him questions. They pretended like they were trying to find something he had done wrong, and then they sent him to, this is the house of Pilate, yeah. It's also called the Tower of Antonia sometimes, where the Roman governor lived, because the Jewish people weren't allowed to put anyone to death. The Romans were in charge of the city, even though it was a Jewish city, and the Romans were the only ones that were allowed to put people to death. So Pilate then sent Jesus all the way over here to talk to Herod. Herod was a Jewish, kind of Jewish ruler, King Herod. Yeah, not super nice guy, you might have heard of him. And Herod asked Jesus questions, and then he sent Herod back to Pilate. And Pilate had Jesus, they whipped him, they took off his clothes, and they hurt him, and then they made him carry his own cross out to the mountain just outside of the city that we sometimes call the Mount of Calvary, on the other side of the city, or the place of the skull. And there Jesus was crucified, and there he died. Hey, sweetie. Yeah. Yeah, that's the city wall. And we know what happened on the third day.
Godzilla came.
Yeah, it wasn't Godzilla. It wasn't that. It wasn't that.
Life.
What happened on the third day, Rafa? The women went to the tomb where Jesus had been buried. And what did they find there? What did they find in the tomb? Did they find Jesus' body like they thought they were going to? No, they didn't. They found
the angel.
They found an angel who gave them some good news. So we're gonna hear about that good news next Sunday, but we don't want to forget that good news is coming. And it's good news for all of us, for all time. That God's love is so strong that it's stronger even than death. And God's love is so big, we can never, ever fall outside of it. Thank you, guys. Thanks for helping us think about this. Something we can go on thinking about for a long, long time.